Hey everybody, what up? Scuff D, wearing Loken's armor here. Just hanging out with my Sons of Horus brothers. Before we were the Luna Wolves, before that, and now here we are on Terra. And we wish that our Primarch was well, but now he's fallen to chaos. What do we do? Well, big news today. Today is August 6th, 2019. Finally, or finally not, there has been some updates to the game. I'm going to turn the volume down here before this becomes too much of a distraction, because it messes with my internal mic. We've got some game updates. To the game, and I'm going to be slightly distracted because I'm looking at my PC over here with the screen to show it. Now, I've got a tablet, not really a PC, and I don't play on Steam. I just play on my phone. But it makes it easier to reference certain things. And there are some decently interesting changes afoot. These are effective now. These are live. Some things have been answered. Some things have not been answered at all. Some of these appear to have come out of the warp from like 6 months ago or 7 months ago when people were crying for certain things. Doesn't matter. We're going to go over it all today. First off and foremost, let's start with the neutrals. I'm just going to read down the list and we're going to go with that. Some big changes. With regards to everybody's favorite Jukebox Starsight is now a 2/3, which is unfortunate. But I think as we discuss some of the later changes, you'll kind of understand, I think, the thought process. This is my opinion. I'm guessing as far as the thought process. He is now easily one-offed by Seek and Destroy, Abaddon, many tactics and targets that deal with troops, whether it's defensive satellites, artillery strike, even a simple information network or informant network followed by a phase strike from your warlord is going to take care of Jubok. Jubok is not even going to require a tactic from Angron to deal with. So that's pretty significant. He is a one-turn guy as of this point. He used to be a 2/5, then he's a 2/4. He still was widely as a staple, almost in every deck, so now he's a 2/3. I don't think he's going to appear in as many decks now, but he will still appear. Jubok will still benefit immensely from cards that can pump their troops easily, either with Unbreakable Focus. Now, granted, this is a later game play. This is a turn 6 play, but, he becomes a 3/4, or a, better yet, a 4/6, 4/5 target that is going to annoy your opponent if they can't deal with it. Or you can play him on curve with Quick Blood and get the exact same effect for 3 Psyker Energy. Not counting, you've got Ferrous Manus, who could technically buff him at will if he so chose. You could play Iron Warriors and do a decimation on something, or get some Dominators action going on here and just gradually pump him up in your hand before you drop him. So he's a couple things there. You can still stealth him with Raven Guard. There's still ways to play him, but he's not a turn 2 play unless you can protect him. Now, Phosis, who we're going to get into here, can certainly do that. So I think that's why they made him more vulnerable for those warlords specifically who could protect him and deal with him. They found some ways to get rid of him a little bit easier for the rest of us. Now, coming out of the neutral card pool from just this set, from the Prospero set, Secutare Axiarch is now a 2/2. As opposed to a 2/3, which he still has Survivor 1. He still has a good ability. But he's very susceptible, much in the same way that Roshan Squad is for the Salamanders. He's basically an alternate Roshan Squad. He's still a good card to start out with, but he can be attacked, tactic, follow-up, done. He doesn't require 2 tactics or 2 attacks or an attack from a 3 attack troop. He's a little bit more flimsy on that side of things. Now, if you ask me, again, I think this ties into the Phosis changes that we'll talk about here, and I don't want to keep teasing that, but there's some Phosis changes. Also, I think some of this kind of stems out of a little bit of complaint regarding the event. Now, I could be wrong there. But there is a warlord, Lucretia, and she is the Thousand Sons Spire Guard, and she has an ability to heal 2 and give a troop +1/+1. Well, in conjunction with a 2/3 Secutari Axiarch, you basically can start, and she also has, I should also mention, she also has a passive ability that all her troops deploy for -1. So you can drop this guy for 1 energy, drop this guy for free, drop this guy for 1 energy, and this guy for 1 energy on the opening turn, and then buff him, or drop something else, and then drop turn 2, drop him and buff him. So she just had a lot of ways to abuse that early game. Now, again, I don't know if that's what drove it, but he probably may still be in the top 3 cards from the Prospero expansion in terms of neutrals, but he takes a big hit. That fragile hit does mean something. I don't know the ramifications that's going to have, because he really offered a strong tool for decks that were struggling with weaker troops. Numian still can take advantage of him, but it was much better having that 1 additional health. That makes a huge difference. Skitarii Protector. Now, this is kind of interesting, and I'm not sure what the thought process is here, but I'm going to take it for what it is. Maybe they were just going off of cost alone. He used to be a 4/5. He is now a 5/5. Same cost, same ability. That's it. That's all he does. But he's got 1 extra attack. So that does make him a little bit more dangerous on edge, but he's not a vehicle. He is an infantry. He's got a good rally effect, especially if you're fighting stealth stuff. So that's a buff. That's undeniably a buff. Why? I'm not exactly sure, but let's roll with it. Now, Possess. This is interesting. This kind of came out of nowhere. That's why I'm thinking this is kind of tied to somebody who asked a question like 4 months ago and was like, hey, can we make this cool card cooler and viable? Well, now it gives a non-structured troop Relentless, deal 2 damage to adjacent units, which before it was just infantry or Astartes. Well, now you can possess a vehicle, which thematically you could possess a vehicle. You could always have a demon possessed predator. I think in 3rd edition was just something I loathed. I loathed demon possessed chaos vehicles. It was just like ignore crew stun, crew shaken, and basically if you don't roll a 5 or 6, don't even bother attacking my vehicle. Well, you can possess things now. You can also possess custodes, and that's really kind of interesting, very curious. But they can be possessed, but the cost hasn't gone down. We'll see. I don't know if that's a relevant card. I really don't know how many people are outcrying for it, but they went ahead and they made that change. Now, I would say a pretty big change they made here to Valdor. Constantine Valdor doesn't. His ability and everything is still the same, but his reckoning has changed. His reckoning now is now changed to cost 16, which I believe it was cost 14 before. Now it's cost 16. However, it's -1 when your warlord kills an enemy during your turn, which is not terribly hard to do. You can weaken him with the various Custodes troops. You can pump up Valdor's attack with various Custodes troops. You can even play the spear and use that to take out troops. You're going to do some damage to Valdor, but you only have to kill 6. And your opponent might be a little bit more crazy to throw those down there, because then you can easily become the Emperor's Spear. You're talking a 3 attack first strike with the ability to pump your attack up to whatever you want it, as well as act again. That's really powerful. And then if you happen to have the spear and you play lightning blow on top of that, you can rack up power, and that's just talking with just those 2 cards. We're not talking all the other Custodes juices like the Michaela, of course, or just even these little guys here. When I say little, I mean, the Tremella support is not little. They're wonderfully golden. But just having those guys locked down, I mean, geez, there's a lot you can do there. Valdor, I think, was kind of in a place where he could be just a little bit stronger, but his reckoning made no sense in regards to his ability, and I believe they changed that, and I think that makes a little bit more sense. I'm okay with it how it works. It's doable to get it to 10 or 9 or 8, but he does have to attack with it, and when he's attacking with it, he's not using his ability to draw troops. So it does kind of balance that flow of a Custodes deck. So good change, I think. I think that one's actually a good change. Now, here's some changes here that apparently just kind of came out of the blue. And I know some people were probably waiting for these, but, I mean, really? It doesn't matter at this point. The Storm. Come on. First off, look, I get the memes. I get raising the Storm. I get the point of it. I love the fluff behind the concept of what the Hammer and the Storm are. There's a great story about what they are and how they work and how the Iron Hands wage war. You should really look it up. I think I talked about it a little bit when I did the Iron Hands card by card way back yonder, but I just can't do it justice. But it's a great story. But this card is terrible, and I've always said that. I've always thought that. The Storm should not cost less. The drawback should cost less. The drawback is insane. Your troops gain frontline and Survivor 1. And enemy cards cost 5 less until your next turn. Now that includes any cards that they happen to draw over the course of their turn. If they play a Spirit of Mars that reduces the cost of those cards, it's also reduced by another 5. It just... Thematically, the idea is you put a bunch of stuff out, you give all your stuff frontline and Survivor, and then your opponent drops their whole hand, and then the next turn you've got your guys who survived, and you dump the Hammer or the Fall of Gardenal down on the table. You wipe them out, and then they're forced to play with the top deck of their top card of their deck for the rest of the game. Making this cost 1 does not help that at all. The only thing that it lets you do is play, 1 more point worth of troop before you play the Storm. On turn 10, you could play 9 points worth of troops and then play the Storm. But at that point in the game, the way the Iron Hands play, it doesn't much make sense. I mean, you could play, I guess you could play this guy here, give him frontline as well as Survivor 1. But then you're giving whatever your opponent has, and if they have 4 or 5 cards in their hand and one of them happens to be a Destroy a Troop card, what's the point? It just... I think if enemy cards cost 3 less until your next turn, I'd be satisfied with that, and I would have taken that for 2. I still wouldn't have played it. I think this is probably one of the worst cards in the game, if you ask me. I just dislike it immensely. But again, I get the memes. I get the people loving the Storm, or the fact that it is just such a joke of a card. I don't know. I don't know if you're going to see play on that. I've seen, now granted, I won't deny, I've seen like 2 games won because of the Storm that I've played in events, but I've also been on the winning end of a lot more games where the opponent played the Storm. So take it for what it is. Venerable Comac. So let's take a look at Venerable, good old Venerable Comac. You remember him, right? You remember this guy, this 8-drop guy that nobody ever plays? Well, now he's a little bit different. Now he's an 8/8. And if you control no other troops, heal 5 is our Relentless. And that's actually kind of interesting. I believe he was just a heal 3 initially. But as a vehicle that can heal 5, that's very powerful. It's kind of like a Death Shroud, a watered down vehicle, iron handy Death Shroud that can still be taken care of with somewhat of a decent amount of cards, especially if you're only running just him. I don't know what they were thinking there. I don't know if they were like, oh, we just need to get this guy in the game. Venerable Comac, man. People need to play this guy. Why aren't more people playing Venerable Comac? Maybe because he's a 8 cost. I don't know, man. I see Tarragon more. You know what? And I will say this. I've seen Venerable Comac like once when it's been created by a captured forge. And maybe that's the theory behind it, is I guess that they're like, well, we'll just make him more awesome, so if somebody plays him with a captured forge, they feel better about it. I don't know. Tarragon is better now. Tarragon used to be a 6/9. It's now a 7/9. Same ability, but point cost wise, you get 1 extra attack. Again, captured forge usually generates one of those in your hand. It's better when it generates this guy here, but we'll take it for what it is. It can still win games easily. Deal 5 damage to your opponent's warlord if that's all they've got on the table. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's a buff. Comac's a buff, but I don't understand. I'm sorry, I just don't understand. Ironfather. Now, Ironfather receives a justified change here. His Rally and Relentless now gives +1/+1 to your other troops, which before was just your Iron Hand troops. So now he is actually doing that to all your other troops, whether it is a vehicle or a Mechanicum or a neutral, Imperial, Chaos, whatever it is. He's going to pump them up, and then each turn he's going to pump them up. Now, he costs more than Bargus, but he's got the same Relentless at the start of your turn, and he also has that Rally effect. And technically, stat-wise, he's a little bit heavier on the stat side, too, for his point cost. So, that's not bad. But as an 8 cost, you've got to be kind of banking on that to include that. And then do you play Comac or Ironfather? I don't know. Now, here's one change, probably the biggest and only change that I really enjoy out of the Iron Hands here. This has been... The Iron Hands came out. Oh, God, I'm going to have to go back to take a look at when they came out. I'm just off the top of my head thinking, theoretically, every 3 months there's been an expansion, right? We're in expansion 1. We're going to go into expansion 2 back. So 9 months ago, maybe, like October of 2018. I'm guessing. This is a guess. This is just a guess. This is no research whatsoever on here. And this card, 9 months in the making to get an ability that is somewhat decent for a legendary. This ability on this card initially has and always will be terrible. Was draw a card, deal damage to all enemy troops equal to the cost of that card. Which, you could pack your deck full of 8s and 9s and 10s, but if you don't have the hammer, and they don't have any troops, and you don't have anything to play until turn 7, what's the point? Now you are dealing damage to all enemy troops equal to the number of cards in your hand. So as a card itself, it replaces itself. Give or take, depending on how your Iron Hands game plays. And if you're playing Santar, even Super Saiyan Ferrus Manus, and that's a term we'll get into someday. Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Ferrus Manus, Primarch. You may very well have 5 or 6 cards in your hand when you play the hammer. So dealing 5 or 6 damage to all enemy troops is pretty nice. That's a board clear. That is superior, finally, to the Fall of Gardenel, which damaged your stuff. So now there's a better trade-off for 1 cost more. You might want to trade off Fall of Gardenel, which was a guaranteed 4, for the hammer, which could be a guaranteed 4+, depending on how you play your game, for 1 energy more. Now, granted, that could cost you at a later game, but if you've got abandoned supplies, or you're playing your game right, or you just happen to have your 2 servo arms on, you might just be fine. You might be able to weather that storm. And then play the hammer. And then drop the hammer. And say it's hammer time. And then say, I raise the storm. I'm trying to think of, I mean, Jesus. You can only do it if you're doing Duquesne. If you don't do that with Duquesne, you know, then are you even an Iron Hand? Get out of here. This is an obscenity. You're damn right. You're damn right, Duquesne. But a buff. A decent buff. It doesn't damage your opponent's warlord, but it does even the playing field. And I'll be honest with you, the Iron Hands play style heavily favors your opponent not having a board to counteract whatever it is that you've got, whether it is dual servo harnesses, whether it's Kagos or Bargas, or apparently Mr. New and up-and-coming Venerable Comac. Just saying. Then we get to the beef of it. We get to the big thing that people were waiting for, were salivating for, demanding, asking, begging, pleading. Do something. Do something about the Thousand Sons. Do something about Magnus. Do something about Aemon. Well, Aemon, what they did is they put him in crates, and now you can buy him in a starter and get him in crates. Which is good. I wish they would have done that 2 days ago when I was playing the event and, opened up about 30, 40 crates in the event. That would have been great. But that's neither here nor there. They didn't touch Aemon. They're not going to, most likely, because he's right now a warlord that they're selling here. He's not there. What? He's not there. Must not be Thousand Sons Day. They had him in the shop. Maybe they'll put him back in the shop as a starter deck. I don't know. Or maybe they're putting him in the crates because he's not. Either which way, look. Here's the deal. They're not gonna adjust him just yet because people paid money for him, and people in the top 10 lodges from the last event paid a lot of time and effort to get him. They're gonna let people enjoy him and enjoy the reward, and probably in about 3 to 5 weeks, depending on how quickly he's out in the shop for general release, then they'll do something about it. But who knows what that's going to be. His ability is really nonsense. I could go on and on about it. I normally do not chime in on cries for nerf, but in terms of what he does to the game and in terms of the balance, it's not. There is no balance there. There's no even exchange at all. So his time will come. But what they did do is they did change Magnus to red in a variety of ways. First off and foremost, his ability itself has been changed from deal 1 to 2 damage, or deal 1 to 3 damage rather, to deal 1 to 2 damage. Which is a big difference because, despite it dealing 1 to 3, I've seen it deal 3, I think, a fair amount of times more than it dealt 1. Although usually the opponent is only using it to deal 2 damage, but 3 does the trick. That's a big change. It's not as it's not as useful to get rid of a troop down the road unless they've just got 1 health remaining. Another huge change that they got here is they changed the shard. Or not the shard, the shard is the same. This is his reckoning form. His reckoning form remains the same, dealing 1 to 3 damage to all enemies and shield. So he still gets powerful with regards to the shard, but they changed his whispers from cost 25, I believe it was, yes, to 27, making this the most expensive whisper to date. The reduction factor is still the same. He has to take 1, it's reduced -1 when he takes damage. Meaning, just if he's taking 1 point of damage from sources, he takes 27 points of damage before this is cost 10. So he would be at 13 health at turn 10 if that's all he took. Now that's just not going to happen. Whether he's attacking with himself or he's being attacked by a warlord, he's going to take more than 1 damage from a source. So if you just... let's factor out healing and any sorts of other variables in there. Let's just say on average he's taking 2 damage from a source. In order for this to get to be 10, he has to take 17 hits at 2 damage is 34 damage. leaving him at 6 health on average at turn 10 to be able to play. When I say turn 10, I mean 10 energy, in order to play the Whispers, at which point he gains his health and the shield and all the wonderful fun stuff. It becomes much more in line with what the Whispers are that we've seen. But I don't know, man. That's pretty hard. And to go with it, not only did they change his ability, not only did they change his Whispers, they changed several cards that were tied into, when I say several, I mean like one card that you could use several times, that were tied into assisting with him triggering. The biggest one being Psychic Barrier. Now, for initially, this is the initial iteration of Psychic Barrier. This is what it looked like. Frontline, can't attack. 1/1 shield, destroy the troop at the start of your turn. And then a month or so ago, they changed this to destroy the troop at the start of your turn and deal 1 damage to your Warlord. So your Warlord would take a hit just for having a Psychic Barrier, which is not necessarily a great thing unless you're Magnus, and then that 1 point of damage helps reduce your Whisper's cost. To go with that, not only did you have that happening, you had Meccator Cabal, who could put in play 2 Psychic Barriers. They have now been changed. They've gone up and down. First off, their stats are back to a 3/3, which, thank you. I like their stats at a 3/3. There was nothing wrong with their stats. Their stats in conjunction with 2 Psychic Barriers was a little rough, but their stats, they also had a 2 Psyker. Now there's a 1 Psyker. But they now put in play 1 Psychic Barrier. So for 3 energy, you're getting these guys and 1 Psychic Barrier, and that's it. That makes a big difference. That makes a big difference because these guys are still a defensive tool, but they are much less of a defensive tool against your Rust decks, against any sort of like a Falk deck, which was always a timing obstacle. And there was ways around it. I loved it when they would play Meccator Cabal and I had more health, and then I could drop viral bombs, but I had to prepare for that. They're just putting 1 down now as opposed to 2. That makes a big difference. And their health being 3, okay, whatever, I'll take it. So this is a big change. This is a big change for Magnus. This is a big change for Thousand Suns, kind of in general. On the plus side, they are putting out a Psychic Barrier that no longer damages your Warlord. Unless you're Magnus, that's a plus. If you're Magnus, you might be a little disappointed with that. So you are gaining some additional protection for a turn at 0 cost to your health, and that's pretty good. And, actually, now that I think about it, I really wished I would have had that when I was playing event decks last night, because I was playing Amon, because that's all the decks that were available to me were Amon. There was no Lucretia. I did not have Lucretia. I did not have Constantine Valdor. I just had Amon, and I did okay with Amon, but I played Psychic Barrier quite a few times. I don't know if it cost me games or not, but I would like to know that I didn't lose health because of it. Live and learn. So that's a big change. That is a big, we're talking 1 change to Magnus. This is just to Magnus now we're talking. 1 change in his ability. 1 change in his Whispers. 1 change in how Psychic Barrier works with him. And 1 change into how Meccator Cabal assists with the Psychic Barriers to help with Magnus Shard Reckoning to go into his Shard. That is a heavy blow to Magnus. Now, that doesn't mean he's suffered terribly. He still has the Thousand Suns combo potential. He still has Oncto. He still has his ability, which is not bad to begin with. He still has a lot of frontline, a lot of beef, a lot of tricks. He's still got Belacuthazar. He's still got Penthu Dast. He's still got Isaac or he's not dead and gone. He's not dead and gone by any means. However, people who are playing Magnus a certain way for the last month are gonna have to make some changes here, or change their expectations in how their deck is working. That's big. They did also change Prosper and Lore. Now, Prosper and Lore used to be 3, and then you gained 3, and you drew a card, and then they took away the card draw, so then it was 3 energy to gain 3 Psyker energy. Well, now they've added a little bit of incentive. pay 3 energy to gain 4 Psyker energy, which you're not drawing a card, but in a pinch deck, or if you're playing a certain way and you're going up for a huge ability, it's not bad. It's not bad. Some people have mentioned, and I think justifiably so, that this is still a better card. For 1 less energy, you're getting a body who's a 2/1, even though he's a very fragile body. He's a body, and he's gaining you 2 Psychic energy. But you know what? If you're playing that way, why not both? Why not? Why not on turn 1, boom, Kelmec Squad. On turn 2, boom, City of Light, which is, I mean, that's the ideal turn 2 play. Turn 3, Prosper and Lore. And then turn 4, just start dropping Octo and save yourself some board. And then turn 5, you're like, okay, all right, now I'm going to start dropping some beef. What, you like that? You like Uthazar with 5 Witch Fires to the face? Do you? Yeah, you got to survive that. You got to get to that. It's a combo deck, man. That's what they do. They combo it up, baby. That's what they do. That's their combo. They are the Thousand Suns. They've got tricks. They've got traps. No, Alpha Legion's got traps. Yeah. Phosis Takar. Oh, this guy. First off, hang on. And this is gonna disrupt my mic, but I fucking love Phosis Takar's voice. His voice is so cool. It's just like he's like a guy who you would go to a bar with. You know, you'd hang out with Phosis Takar. You would have drinks with Phosis Takar because this guy's just chummy. Let's listen. Nope, wrong guy.
Sweet mother of the abyss! I almost like you already. This bodes ill. I am your death. The Red Sorcerers of Prospero stand ready. Sweet mother of the abyss!
Okay. I did that before. I've done that before, but I like his voice lines. I'm sorry I had to interrupt. Anyways, he took a big hit back when they changed those Psyker barriers. Because for 2 energy, he was putting in a Psyker barrier, but it was costing him health. He had an amazing deck to go with it prior to that, which is what really prompted the Psyker barrier changes to begin with, because he could put up a barrier that how do you get past it? And then he can put up stuff that, I mean, some of the more popular things, you've got Farron's Militia, which is just annoying as all sin. Jubak. You've got, I don't know, you could do Duke for some extra, board superiority action. A lot of people were using Helios Mortar Carrier at the end there. You could even throw out, a lot of people were using the Chaos, the Brotherhood. And then I definitely saw 1 or 2 playing with Alpha Theta. Cards that basically, if you can't get rid of them, they're going to give me more fun stuff. And, yeah, that's annoying. That is annoying to deal with. How do you fight that? So they came up with those changes to the Psyker barrier, and almost immediately everybody stopped playing Phosis Takar. Now I'll tell you this, and again, credit to Skypoint. Skypoint put a video a week ago. Phosis still works. He still works very well. You're trading 1 life as opposed to the 5 or 6 that it might take, that you might take as a face strike over the course of turns, and you still get to play your things. Well, now there's no negative fallback to that again. Once again, he can do his ability unimpeded with the Psyker barrier. The Psyker barrier is not going to hurt him. However, he used to start with an additional card, and they have taken that away from him. He has low initiative. He has 1 less card. You're going to be able to go first and put something down, hopefully, on that turn, giving you the potential to break through the barrier on your next turn, and that's if he puts up a barrier and puts out a troop in play. I think that's balanced, but I don't know yet. I'm very curious to see how that pays off. I'm very curious to see how that affects Fosis decks. I think Fosis decks are still very viable. I think they're more so viable than they were as of this morning. They are more viable because this is not going to do him any damage. There's basically, if he plays no Psyker cards in his deck, no Psyker abilities, he's just playing just with Octos and troops and tactics. There's no negative drawback to him. He's got a free barrier every turn that protects him from two things, two attacks, whether it's a Bloodthirst troop or Angron or whatever it is, and he can hide behind and put out bodies behind and build up a board. So that's going to come back. How dominant is it going to be? I don't know. Magnus takes some steps, takes some hits, but how severe is that going to affect him? I don't know. Because you could very well play a Magnus deck that runs very troop light. That's going to hurt if it comes up against Fosis, but at the same time, if you're doing a lot of direct damage troops, Fosis only has 30 health, and Magnus could very quickly close that gap and take Fosis to zero health. And that's just those two pitted against each other. So I think some people got what they asked for, because I think people were hoping that Fosis would be playable again, and he is. I think he is. Some people wanted, when I say some, I mean I think a lot of people wanted something for Magnus, which, I don't know, he was fine, but that's just me. I wasn't playing Magnus. I played against Magnus. I win, you lose, whatever. I thought he was okay. He still is okay, but a lot of the cards that he was using to support him for a certain playstyle, he's going to have to shift his directive, much in the same way that Fulgrim had to change how he was played and operated when they changed his whispers. Except nobody sees Fulgrim anymore, because not only did they change his whispers, they changed his initiative, and that does make a big difference. They also changed like 4 cards that he made use of, but they did that with Magnus too. So how much is this going to impact Magnus? How much is this going to impact Fosis? How much is this going to impact the Thousand Sons in general? It certainly isn't impacting Amon, because he is going to do what he's going to do at least for another 3 to 5 weeks. Again, that's just the way it is. Prepare for it. Deal with it. You don't like it? Pack a bunch of junk in your hand that you can play with somehow with your Warlord ability, and he will regret spending Psyker energy to copy your Righteous Zealot. Or will he? I don't know. Ferrus Manus could do that. Ferrus Manus could deal with the Magus. Like, okay, you copied my Righteous Zealot. I don't care. I'm Ferrus Manus, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Ferrus Manus. Does that cover all of it? Is that all of these changes? Yes, 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 and yes. I've done it. Those are the updates, man, and they're not massive, but in increments they are very important. And again, I'm going to go back to the start of everything here with regards to Jubok, as well as with regards to the Secretary Axiarch. I think they made them a little bit more vulnerable to tie in specifically with Fosis, being able to protect them, as well as I think just to kind of nudge them out of everybody has them in every deck. How much will that see? I think a Quick Blood, I think a Fosis, or maybe not even a Fosis. Oh, you could do a Fosis or an Amon or an Airman Quick Blood Jubok. What? Airman Quick Blood Jubok. What does that mean? Well, first off, Airman gives him precognition, so you can't attack him, and then I can pump him up. If I just bank that for like 2 or 3 turns, Airman Precognition, Quick Blood Jubok. Have fun. I mean, unless you've got a destroy card, that might be something. That might be something. I mean, I like giving Quick Blood to this guy here, to the cost beater, but I mean, I'll give Quick Blood to Jubok. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. I don't know. I might have to change some things. I might have to, you know what? I just realized. Oh my God. I just realized I'm internally, you can't see it. Internally, I'm processing the fact that they just did this update and these balance changes, and they didn't give us any deck slots. I mean, what an opportunity. This would have been the opportunity to do it. It was easy. Just put in a row of deck slots. I don't have enough deck slots to do a Custodes decks. I can't play Valdor. I'm locked out of playing Valdor by my love of deck slots for all my other warlords who I play. I play these guys. Don't tell me I don't play them. I play them. I just played Angron the other day. I did. You know who else I played the other day? Numian. And you know who else besides Falk and Russ? Played Magnus. And then you know what else I played just for grins? Garrow. And then I've got some challenge decks here. God, what a I'm just guys, the Everguild, missed opportunity, deck slots, man. And you're giving us another warlord here at the end of this event, which I'm not going to go into that. At the end of this event, the winners, top 10 lodges in this event, which we're creeping up there. We're going to get there. I'm going to say Masterclass, you can stay. Adeptus Astartes, you guys can stay. Active Deck Builder, Logos Maxima, you guys can get bumped out. One of you guys has got to go, because we're coming. We're coming for you. I mean, they're giving us another warlord. They just gave us Amon. So in conjunction with the three other Custodes warlords, we've got 2 other warlords. That's 5 warlords that I don't have decks for. That's 5, and that's 6. It takes a row is 6 warlords. You could give me a deck row, a slot of deck rows right now, and I would almost be full by the end of this event. Oh, Everguild, what are you doing? Now, I don't care about Magnus. I don't care about... I mean, it's nice to see Phosis playable, but I don't care about the Iron Hands and the Storm and the Hammer and I kind of am a little sad about Jubak, because it's going to be harder for me to come up with some Chewbacca Believe-Its. But aside from that, I care about deck slots and my ability to make a deck how I so choose, and to have all options available to me at all times. And if you are a player who enjoys that, and you should be, then you should be disappointed. Forget everything else I've talked about all this whole video. All these updates, forget everything that I've gone over about. Just be disappointed by this update, because there are no deck slots. No, that might be going too far. I mean, I think they tried with regards to the cards, but in regards to the deck slots and the other aesthetics of the game, there's missed opportunity. Man, depression. It's just floating space dust. It's floating space dust, begging to be filled. God damn it. All right, well, I don't know how to rate this. I don't know how to rate this update. I think going over everything, I think some changes seem to come out of good intentions. I hope some people are, I guess, pacified by what they did for the Iron Hands, because that's all you're going to get. I hope people are enjoying what they did with the Thousand Suns, because I think that's okay. I'm very curious to see how that shifts things. Are we going to just see more Phosis and less Magnus? Are we going to see a 50-50 ratio? Valdor could get crazy. Valdor could just eat up those Psyker barriers and drop his reckoning to nothing. Although Phosis does like to use, Devour of Worlds at that point, so I don't know if you can tell. The disappointment is just now settling upon me. God. Well, let's hope that there is a update following this update after the end of this event, and in 9 days or 10 days we will see some more changes, some subtle changes. The biggest one being at least 6 new deck slots added to the game. It's almost a joke, but it's really not a joke. I'm really serious. This is important. If you're going to offer this many warlords to players, and they're going to continue to grow the warlords, mind you, they're going to continue to add. We've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other factions to add, not counting potential other neutrals or alternate factions such as the Knights Errant, Malkadar's Chosen, Shattered Legions. Who knows what they could come up with, Sisterhood of Silence. Each of those is going to come with at least 4 warlords. That requires me to have a deck slot in order to do that. All right, this is going to turn into a rant that I don't want it to turn into. Okay, all right, that's enough. That's enough from you guys. Anyways, I hope the updates find you well. I hope you can give me some feedback. Let me know what you think about them. Let me know what you think about not having deck slots. Are you as disappointed as I am? Are you? Do you feel my pain? And then also, just a quick plug here before I get going. I am putting up just a quick lodge plug. We're going to have 2 openings here. We've got 19 spots right now. We're going to have 18 spots. So there's going to be 2 openings in Trader's End. If you are not in a active lodge, or you're looking to get into a active lodge that can get top 10, top 5, top 3, which is what we've done. We took a break last event out of protest with the Titans, but we're coming in this one, and we're going to keep it up. If you are looking to do that, hit me up on Discord. In addition to that, I just am starting my next player poll on Discord, which is regards to the top player choice top 3 cards from the Istvan 5 expansion, which is basically the Iron Hands, Salamanders, Raven Guard Legions, as well as the neutrals that were featured in those cards. Any cards basically with this little symbol there with the snake and the eagle. So I'm taking votes. So if you're on Discord, hit me up there. If you're not on Discord, please put your votes in the comments below. Let me know what your top 3 are. Please rank them in order of 1 to 3 so I can record those and share those results down the road, because I like doing that. And I think there were some very good cards. There's a lot of debatable cards, but there's a lot of good cards that came out of the Istvan 5 set that were pretty powerful for quite some time. So let me know what your top 3 are, and either on the comments or over on Discord. And I'm really looking forward to sharing the results. I'm going to close the poll in 7 days. So August 13th at midnight my time is when I will stop taking votes. So if you've got them, send them in before then. And I think that's a little bit of plug action for me. A little plug action for Trader's End. I'm trying to think. We've got some tournaments going on. Oh, you know what? Really quick, I'm not gonna. I don't have all the details, but there is a big tournament, the Kaz Open, or is it Kaz Invitational? Kazram, who does videos as well, and I'll link the vid here to his announcement. He's running a cash prize tournament. I believe it's $100 cash prize, big format, open invite conquest format, which is basically three different warlords, and you have to win with all three. So it's basically a best out of five, a 3 out of 5 match, but you have to win. All three of your wins have to be one with each warlord in order to claim the victory for that round and go into the next one. But the winner gets $100 cash, I believe. It's either a cash prize, or there was talk about the prize is big. It's either that or it's like a full set of a faction. I'm not sure. He's got a lot of details on his channel, on his Discord. He's got a lot of details he's sharing in the Discord. Take a look at the video. If you are into tournament play, or you want to get into tournament play, I don't think it doesn't cost you anything. It just costs you the time to play and to get the experience in playing with a lot of seasoned players, and at the same time testing your mettle. You might find that you have got more than what you thought you had in the ability of what it takes to play the game. And you know what? I think that's awesome. So, shout out, plug there. I don't think he was expecting that kind of plug, but it's there. Not that I've got a huge base of people, but you know, sometimes you just got to cover all mediums. He's puts up some good content, pretty regular. So check that stuff out and take a listen to see if you are into that tournament scene, and that is something worth considering, because it's a good community. It's a good community to play with, and especially just to kind of mix it up. I would love to see a tournament mode added to the game at some point, and maybe that might just be a little bit of the needle to pop the balloon over there at Everguild, because apparently they're not popping balloons about deck slots. So, all right, guys, that's it for me. I've talked long enough. I think I've covered everything I can cover from this update. I think I've covered everything I can for what's currently going on. I hope you're having fun. I hope you're running the event. I hope you're dealing with Amon if you are, and keep playing Legions. We'll talk to you next time. All right, bye.
And now it's time for great moments in top decking history!
Strength. Ain't nobody man enough to feel the pain. And you could be next. You better give respect. Cause ain't nobody breaking this redneck. No, they don't want none. No, they don't want none. They don't want none. No, they don't want none. They don't want none. No, they don't want none. They looking scared. No, they don't really want none.
Alright, that wraps it up for me. If you liked what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe. Add any comments below. And if you think the video might be useful, or the series might be useful, feel free to share that with other players that you know as well. And we'll talk to you later.